huge thank you to the Centre for Environmental Justice. I've organised a lot of conferences in my time, and I know how much work it takes. So I want to warmly acknowledge you and thank you for the warm welcome you've given all of us and the dancers, the logistics. It's a huge amount of work, so congratulations. Now, in speeches like these, it's common to start with a description of the problems. But I don't want to do that because you know the problems. Many of you and people in your communities live the problems. You know about the drought that's been crippling Zambia, that's been crippling the economy of Zambia. You know about the 3-hour electricity rationing system in this country. You know about water pollution. You know about illegal trade in wildlife. So we don't need to dwell on that, and distinguished speakers have given an accurate account of some of those challenges. What I'd like to do in my very brief remarks is talk about some of the more positive trends and opportunities that this country, and indeed this region, and indeed all countries of the world have. Because we are on the cusp of a transition. We don't need to look at the world in terms of environment and economy. These two can go together. There are huge opportunities. The mining conference next door, we should almost have them together because this is a conversation that's needed together because these issues are together. So in my brief remarks, I just want to focus on the opportunity of environmental rule of law. You've heard about the rule of law. The environmental rule of law brings the rule of law to the environment. I like to describe it as having two very simple parts to it. Firstly, good laws, and secondly, good implementation. So a lot of speakers have talked about the challenge of implementing laws. I had a colleague in the European Commission who once described governments and legislators as good mothers but terrible midwives. Sorry, the other way around. Good midwives but terrible mothers. So we're good at giving birth to laws, lots of amazing commitments and declarations and legislation, regulation, institutions. But do we implement them? And that's the challenge that this country has, that all countries have. We need environmental rule of law to make those laws a reality, to plug the implementation gap. And so when we talk about environmental rule of law, we in Unep, we track this globally, but we say it means 7 things. First, laws need to be fair. They need to be clear, and that enables them to be implemented. Secondly, we need public participation. We need access to justice, and we need access to information, the so-called 3 pillars of environmental democracy. Thirdly, we need accountability and integrity of institutions and decision makers. Accountability is key to making laws stick. To make those laws stick, fourthly, we need clear and coordinated mandates and roles. Fifthly, we need dispute resolution mechanisms that are fair, that are quick, that are impartial, and that are responsive to communities. I had an interesting conversation with some of my fellow speakers this morning in the waiting room, and we were talking about the potential of specialized environmental courts. And it's a wonderful opportunity, but if an environmental court sits in the capital and does not speak to the communities, it's not available to the communities, then its impact is diminished. And 6, we need a recognition of the relationship between human rights and the environment, and my colleague from UNDP has spoken eloquently about that. And then finally, we need specific criteria that is hardwired into the fabric of laws and institutions on how environmental governance is applied. And if we get those right, we do plug the implementation gap.